Physically, I'm just standing here.
Okay. Why here of all places? I know you don't live nearby.
But this is an abortion centre.
Okay.
The fact that I've been able to talk to so many interesting and intelligent people and get their perspectives and just sit across from them, it's no big deal. Like, yeah, maybe you're being rude to call him Doug, but it's not a hate crime, okay? Well, now a lot of people think it's a hate crime.
Imagine being arrested for silently praying outside a building. In the UK, it's not imagination, it's law enforcement. Joe Rogan uncovers the alarming erosion of free speech in Britain.
England, where people getting arrested for tweets.
Yeah. Well,
England, you know, people talk about Soviet Russia, like how bad Russia is. And I said, okay, so that's why you wouldn't release it, because some of the people that are going to be implicated are still alive. So what that's saying to me is that the government was involved.
From social media posts to personal beliefs, see how the country that gave us Magna Carta is now policing thoughts. Are we witnessing the death of free expression? Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. The United Kingdom, once a beacon of free speech and democracy, has undergone a startling transformation in recent years. From the birthplace of the Magna Carta to a nation where expressing opinions can lead to police intervention, the UK's fall from grace has been both swift and alarming.
Cracking down on thought police and cracking down on bad tweets and things like that.
Stay silent, knowing when to move something forward, knowing when to bring something around, being like, oh, I'm familiar with this person, let me interject this.
This shift in public policy has created an environment where the government seems more focused on policing words than addressing pressing societal issues. Joe Rogan, known for his candid commentary on social issues, has highlighted this troubling trend. He points out the irony of the situation, stating, "The UK, once a symbol of democracy and free speech, is now a place where the wrong tweet can land you in handcuffs." This observation encapsulates the drastic change in the UK's approach to free expression, a change that has left many citizens feeling uneasy about voicing their opinions.
I think England in the I think there's something like 4,000 people have been arrested in England. That first fucking day is like, and I don't think I really got that answer out of him.
I don't think he remembers.
I think he does. What I'm talking
The crackdown on free speech in the UK has taken a particularly concerning turn in the digital age. Police have been reported to respond to tweets and social media posts, with some individuals facing arrest simply for retweeting content that others found offensive. This aggressive approach to policing online speech has created a chilling effect on free expression, with many UK citizens now thinking twice before sharing their thoughts on social media platforms. The contrast between the UK's past as a champion of free speech and its current state is stark. Where once the nation stood as a model for democratic values, it now finds itself grappling with accusations of thought policing. The government's focus on punishing opinions rather than addressing rising crime rates and other pressing issues has drawn criticism from various quarters, including Rogan himself.
For thought crimes, where they've said things online that people find to be a hateful thing or a problematic thing.
This time, it may seem artless, but it's definitely not. So, like, is that something that you learned? Is it a comedian skill?
One of the most alarming aspects of this shift is the seeming arbitrariness of what constitutes an offense. Rogan highlighted a case where a military veteran was arrested for reposting a poem critical of transgender ideology. Such incidents raise questions about the boundaries of free speech and the potential for abuse of power in the name of protecting sensibilities. The UK's approach to policing speech has not only affected individual citizens, but has also had a broader impact on public discourse. With the threat of arrest looming over controversial or unpopular opinions, many are opting for self-censorship rather than risking potential legal consequences. This atmosphere of fear and caution is a far cry from the robust debate and exchange of ideas that once characterized British society. As the UK's crackdown on free speech intensifies, a new and more insidious threat to personal liberty is emerging. The concept of non-crime hate incidents has taken root, blurring the lines between thought and action in ways that even George Orwell might have found far-fetched.
Scared to do it at all?
Could be, yeah. But the fact that they're comfortable with finding people who've said something that they disagree with. That the people look at the inflammatory things he says, the crazy shit, and they define him by that. But you also have to remember this is
These incidents, which don't meet the threshold of criminal offenses, are nonetheless recorded by police and can show up on background checks, potentially affecting employment and travel opportunities. But the real shock comes when we look at how this policy is being implemented. Take the case of the military veteran arrested for reposting a poem critical of transgender ideology. The police, in a move that seems more fitting for a dystopian novel than a modern democracy, stated that his post caused anxiety to someone. This begs the question, since when did causing anxiety become grounds for arrest in a free society?
You can call him an idiot. You can call someone an idiot. Okay, forget about a man in a dress, maybe that's a problem. But if you call like a regular guy an idiot, you stupid, fine, no problem.
Some are decent. When I see you, I see somebody endless curiosity. Is it innate in your personality? Is it a learned phenomenon?
The absurdity doesn't stop there. A woman was arrested for silently praying outside an abortion clinic. Let that sink in for a moment. Silent prayer, an act that by definition produces no sound and harms no one, is now considered a potential crime in the UK. It's as if the mere thought of dissent has become punishable.
And putting them in a fucking cage in England in 2024 is really wild.
Yeah.
Especially they're saying you can get arrested just for retweeting something. Exactly. Joe, they don't want to lose that job. They're in desperado mode now.
Did you have a different perspective after? Like you don't know him well, right?
These aren't isolated incidents. They're part of a broader pattern enabled by Section 127 of the Communications Act, which gives authorities sweeping powers to police electronic communications. This law, originally intended to prevent harassment, has morphed into a tool for suppressing unpopular opinions and beliefs. The irony of the situation becomes even more apparent when we consider the state of UK prisons. While individuals are being arrested for nonviolent speech acts, the country faces a crisis of overcrowded jails. This has led to the early release of violent offenders, raising serious questions about law enforcement priorities. Are we really living in a world where sharing a poem is considered more dangerous than assault or theft? The government's focus on policing speech rather than addressing rising crime rates has created a palpable sense of fear among citizens. People are increasingly wary of expressing their views, even in private conversations. The chilling effect on public discourse is undeniable, with many opting for self-censorship rather than risking potential legal consequences. Joe Rogan's warning about the UK's descent into thought policing isn't just a British problem, it's a global concern that could set a dangerous precedent for other countries. The irony is stark. While the UK arrests thousands for online speech, Russia, often seen as an authoritarian state, makes only about 200 similar arrests. This comparison raises eyebrows and questions about the direction of free speech in supposedly democratic nations. International reactions to the UK's speech policies are growing, with many expressing concern that if free speech can be curtailed in the UK, it could become a template for other nations.
And here's the problem with that. Even if you say, yeah, well, people shouldn't tweet hateful things. I agree. They shouldn't. But who's to decide what is a hateful thing?
That's the problem.
That's uninterrupted for hours at a time and get to see how their brain works, and then to consider my own brain. And then, you know, in the beginning, there's a lot of bad.
The erosion of this fundamental right isn't something that happens overnight. It's a gradual process that requires constant vigilance to prevent. So, what can we do? Experts recommend that citizens must remain vocal about their rights to free speech. It's not enough to simply shake our heads at the news. We need to actively advocate for reforms that protect these rights. After all, if we don't speak up now, who will be left to speak up when our own rights are on the chopping block?